27th of December 1935, Hawaii Island. Two wings of US Army Air Corps, each with 5 twin-engine Keystone biplane bombers, are flying towards the summit of Mauna Loa Volcano. Their mission? To bomb lava flowing out of it, threatening the coastal city of Hillo. How did it come to be, and what were the results of this unusual undertaking? The Mauna Loa Volcano on Hawaii erupted on 21st of November 1935. At first, the eruption was watched with concern, but then the lava flow stabilized. Some weeks passed before the situation grew acute when a dangerous lava flow began rapidly advancing towards the city of Hillo to the northeast. Hawaii's leading volcanologist, Dr. Thomas A. Jagger, director of the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, knew he had to take action. In the past, Dr. Jagger experimented with TNT brought up by mules up to the side of the volcano, with which he hoped to dynamite lava flows and divert them. Even with threat looming to Hillo and its water supply, he knew that the drastic action had to be taken. Dr. Jagger was able to estimate that the lava flow would wipe out Hillo on January 9, 1936, unless it could somehow be stopped. Jagger was thinking that the army could set an overland expedition to set off the TNT charges, but the chemist Guy Giacometti suggested that the army bombers might be more effective. On this consideration, Dr. Jagger placed a call to the US Army Air Corps in Hawaii. He explained his theory that the explosions would divert the lava flows and save the waterworks and town itself. He traveled to the Hawaiian district headquarters at Schofield Barracks near the Wheeler Airfield and met with the intelligence officer there. He was no other than Colonel George S. Patton Jr., who would later gain fame as one of the World War II's most successful and controversial generals. Patton approved the plan and assigned the operation to the Army Air Corps Lieutenant Colonel Asa N. Duncan, commander of the 5th Composite Group at Luke Field in Pearl Harbor. The US Army Air Corps, thinking that at least it could attempt to assist, even if in most unlikely way, approved the mission. Thus, it came to pass that in 1935, the US Army Air Corps attempted one of the most bizarre bombing missions in history. Duncan gave orders to the 23rd and 72nd Bomb Squadrons, accompanied by detachment from 50th and 4th Observation Squadrons, to prepare for a unique mission. 23rd and 72nd were based at Luke Field on Ford Island in Pearl Harbor, and equipped with twin-engine Keystone LB-3 and LB-6 biplane bombers, the last to be serving with the Army Air Corps. Both types entered service in late 20s and were completely obsolete by 1935, but their low speed also allowed them to hit their targets with high level of accuracy, critical for the mission ahead. On December 26, 10 bombers, 2 amphibious planes, and 2 observation aircraft flew to Hillo Airport, where an operations base was established. The weapons and ground crews traveled to Hillo by ship. After refueling, one of the seaplanes took Jagger and some of the bomber pilots to identify the lava tubes he had selected as targets, located about 8,500 feet up to the northeastern slope of Mauna Loa. Immediately that afternoon, Dr. Jagger briefed the new arrived pilots and bombardiers on the methods he had in mind to disrupt the flow. Later in the afternoon, he flew over the volcano himself in one of the airplanes to assess the flows in person. From the cockpit, he carefully selected the right points to bombing. Thankfully, 27th of December 1935 brought beautiful weather. At 8:30 am, the first 5 bombers took off on their urgent bombing mission. A second flight of 5 aircraft was also planned for the afternoon. Each plane carried 2 300-pound practice bombs to use in practice runs and sighting. Additionally, each carried 2 600-pound Mark I demolition bombs of 355 pounds of TNT each, to be dropped for the effect once the practice and sighting runs were completed. The bomb fuses were set to 0.1 second to ensure deep enough penetration for the lava tubes to collapse, precisely in accordance with Dr. Jagger's instructions. In all, this meant that 20 of the 600-pound bombs with full charges were to be dropped onto the lava field. In each of the 2 missions, a flight of 3 Keystone B-3A bomber aircraft from 23rd flew in staggered V formation. Additionally, 2 LB-6s from the 72nd Bomb Squadron traveled in a line-of-step formation alongside. Together, the planes made their approach to designated target points. The pilots flew as high as they could, although that was just 12,000 feet high. Given their full bomb loads, the planes found themselves not that far above altitude of the erupting volcano itself. 5 of the bombs hit directly onto the molten lava flows, with explosions showering lava in all directions. Craters were however immediately filled back in. The other 15 bombs impacted along the channel margins. This one was a dud, found nearly 40 years later and removed carefully by US Air Force ordnance officers. One of the pilots flying the mission, William C. Cap, noted that the bombs caused a sheet of red molten rock to be lofted upwards about 200 feet into the air, and that the bits of flaming debris made small holes in the lower wings of his bomber. Luckily, none of the planes were lost and all returned to Hillo successfully. About a week later, on 2nd of January, the lava stopped. Jagger was jubilant. The experiment could not have been more successful, he told the New York Times. While Jagger was certain that his plan had worked, other scientists were less confident. In his 1983 autobiography, Hal Stearns, geologist who had flown in one of the bombers, wrote of Mauna Loa bombing and its apparent success. "I'm sure it was just a coincidence." This wasn't the only time that the Army Air Force undertook such kind of operation. In May 1942, 6 months after attack on Pearl Harbor, Mauna Loa erupted again. This time, its glow posed a great concern to US installations in the archipelago, expecting the Japanese air and naval forces to use it as a navigation point in the attack, and again the city of Hillo was threatened. Once again, the Army Air Corps was called in for the job. Records are scant, but they probably flew the mission with B-18 Bolo bombers. Air bombs proved equally effective and Volcano calmed down on its own soon after. But at least the Army Air Force could record another public relations success during the early months of the war, when it seemed like the Axis forces were advancing on all fronts. To this date, the 23rd Bomb Squadron of US Air Force still officially takes credit for saving Hillo from destruction by lava, even its insignia sports hallmark to this daring feat. This was Aviation Vault. Hope you liked, and until next time, goodbye.